Thank you for staying with us. The real estate industry continues to be one of the lucrative and cutthroat businesses with many old and new competitors. Because of the growing number of Nigeria's population, people are constantly looking for houses to buy or rent, making it very valuable with investment opportunities. Unfortunately, it has become a den for fraudsters to use for money laundering. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, in a recent development, revealed that some of the sources being used to get these houses are illegal. The Commission also says the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2022 provides that the government can also look into the aspect of real estate, making it substantial to catch the criminals involved. Joining us in the studio is the Chairman, Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, Bamidele Onolaja. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Right. Now, the EFCC is saying that your sector is one of those sectors that is being used by persons who have the corrupt tendencies to launder money. Is that true?
Well, we don't say specifically that that is true. Let me say, first of all, RED and the Real Estate Developers in Nigeria have a very strong collaboration with the EFCC. You know, we've gone so deep with the EFCC to an extent that if you don't have the RED certificate, for instance, you cannot register your business so far as a real estate business you want to do. No bank in Nigeria will open such an account for you. And also, the EFCC, and under the law, has made it mandatory for any real estate company, not only real estate, even the bank, you report business transaction in excess of millions. For instance, individuals, 5 million, corporate organization, 10 million.
Yeah.
So it's the law. It's what everybody do and everybody should do. So laundering money, there are probability that it could be true. It's possible. Because real estate, what the developers are doing through REDAN, real estate developers, also in Nigeria, is we are collaborating with the government agency to provide housing which the government couldn't provide alone. So we are partnering with the government to do that. Also, working closely with EFCC. EFCC is a strong partner. In fact, the chairman of EFCC and our national chairman, we've done a memorandum of association very closely that we allow the EFCC into our business because real estate business is an open business. The EFCC have access to every developer's account.
Really?
Through BVN or whatever. Yes, they do. Even without writing you, they can get your account details. BVN has made everything very simple and very straightforward. So the law states that. Now, when you have a transaction above 5 million, what the developers do is we report every week. We report not only developers, even the banks, every organization, once it's above 5 million, through SCUMO. So the SCUMO certificate also helps the EFCC trace transactions.
What is SCUMO?
Is an agency of EFCC.
Okay.
They relate closely with the real estate developers.
Okay.
So the SCUMO has a certificate which gives the developers access. We give them EFCC access to our business. So if you don't have the SCUMO certificate, you cannot transact business in Nigeria or sell real estate or any other business.
So, how is it possible that some persons are cutting corners from what the statement of the EFCC is referring to?
That's why I say it's possible. It's possible. We cannot really tell. Because number one, as a businessman, as a real estate developer, for instance, someone comes to your office, wants to buy real estate, maybe 100 million, 250 million, 50 million, or in billions. So the first thing you will do is to report that transaction. I don't think it's proper for you to sit your clients down and say, okay, where did you get the money from? Tell me.
It's not for you to do.
It's not for us to do. That's the EFCC's duty. Our own is to report us, okay, a client comes to the office today, I have a 100 million transaction, I have a billion transaction, do your work. So the EFCC traces the finance, traces the money, And it's not everybody that gives so much money, that does business in billions, that are not straightforward. So they are legit business.
Of course.
I've seen legit business in billions. I've seen legit business in hundreds of millions. And that doesn't mean that they are not illegit business. There are several of them. So, and they launder through real estate. But what we do as developers is to make sure we report the transaction. If you do a billion transaction, for instance, with any real estate developer, the proper thing and what the law says is you report. So if you don't, as a developer, not even any business in Nigeria, it's the law. So if you don't report, they come after you. So that means you're an accomplice in case the fund is fraudulent. You understand?
Right.
All right. You have an association that keeps all of you working together. But those who are into real estate, are they all members of your association for proper monitoring and checking?
No.
Okay.
Redan has been existing for about 20 years, founded by Alhaji Lateef Jakonde. We have the fourth president now. He's seated in Abuja. We have regions. In Lagos, for instance, Lagos is under Southwest. So Southwest comprises of 6 states. In Lagos, all the Southwestern states. I'm the chairman for Lagos. So I cannot categorically say all developers are members of Redan. No. So many are not. And that is why we want a collaboration with the government. There's a Redan bill that's passed through the Senate right now, is at its peak with the House of Reps. So once it's passed into law, because there's need for regulation. If you regulate, everybody knows what everybody is doing. So if every developer comes under the Redan umbrella, it's easier for the government. If any house collapse, anything happen, you just write Redan. We fish out the name, the details of whoever is involved in such development. So the government doesn't need to be looking for the developer. Just write Redan immediately. They give you the name. But I discovered that over 60% of developers, people building in Lagos, for instance, are not Redan members. We can't monitor what they do.
So, has Redan approached them to say, you know what, you need to be a part of us
we've
for
done
proper
so many
regulation?
things. We've written almost everybody. So, and you know, because there's no enforcement, we cannot force them. The only body that can help us do that is the government. We cannot say it's a voluntary organization, just like NIBS and the rest of them, and the NSC, National Society of Energy, Koren. It is voluntary. If you don't want to join, nobody will force you. But when issues happen, they come after you. So when there are some issues, when things happen, I say, hey, they are developers. They can be developers, but they are not Redan members. When you are a Redan member, you do things right. Yes.
How is Lagos State, collaborating with you in this regard? Because the Lagos State government has been embarrassed time and times again with the issues of collapsed building, as the case may be. So we're talking for Lagos now. You have said that there are some developers there who are not members of your association and so on. But of course, we want to assume that Lagos State government would want a regulated situation where when everybody is working, you work according to standards. So how is Lagos State government working with you?
Closely. The Lagos State government has done wonderfully well through Lacera. Mrs. Toke Benson, and also the governor, has done so well. They're working closely with us, with Redan. But that's why we've written them. There's need for more collaboration with the government.
In what aspects?
What aspect? Exactly. What I mean is, number one, the developers that are not Redan members, only the government can enforce them to go under the...
But if that hasn't happened, what is the area of collaboration that you are enjoying from the government so far?
We do a lot of collaboration with the government, and we do... Lacera, for instance, have been able to do something that the enlightenment, they are enlightening a lot. Mrs. Toke Benson has done so well.
So no enforcement, just enlightenment?
Enlightenment, and for developers to be members of Redan, I don't think there's any enforcement right now on the part of the government. And that's where I'm going. There's need for enforcement. Join this association so that we can properly monitor what you do. If you join this association, or because, you know, anybody can be a developer. I just have money, I just go back, I eat money somewhere, I just want to build because you think there's money in it. So you don't follow the due process, you build anyhow, the property collapse. And he said, before you know, there's greedy developers. No. When you use such word, it hurts some of us because we are following due process in our business. So the government have done so well, but I think they can still do so much more by working closely with Redan. Redan is an umbrella body of over 5,000 members already. If you work closely with us, and we have more members, we have this profile of all our members, we do everything. That's why the governor created this agency, LASERA. So they are the Lagos State Regulatory Authority. So they try to regulate what the developers do. They are trying their best in their own right, but more collaboration with associations like us and other associations will make you track.
Yeah, but what will when it comes to building permits and all of that, it is not your association that gives out permits of buildings and surveying and so on. All of these things are open profession. So when you have an association, you recall you used the word voluntary. So if it's a voluntary association, for instance, why would you compel members to be in your association? It's just like going to Washington.
No. The word compelling is important, not part of. We can't compel.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have such power.
Why would you urge government to compel them?
The government can compel so that they can track.
Yeah, but without your association, government can still track them because the institutions or offices that give permits to anybody,
you have details of these persons.
Government has that record.
It's easier with us.
Why?
Easier.
What makes it easier?
It's easier with us because it's a one-stop gap. Once anything happens, you write Redan or I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
No, I'm close to the government agencies. LASPA, LAPSCA, material testing, all of. We are collaborators. So when an incident happens, for instance, a building collapse, let's use that example. We expect the government agency to know whoever the developer is, yes. But number one, if that developer is under an association, the association, apart from the government dealing or talking to the association, can also call such a person for action.
How do you call persons to action? Under your association, if a building
we have a disciplinary committee, we have an enforcement committee.
How do you discipline members?
There are several ways of this. We are not going to flog them. There are
several,
there are several ways of disciplining members. Number one,
tell us a few of them.
We can do so many things. I can just tell you, number one, we can vaccinate such a member from our association. Now, do things right. Now, we have an enforcement committee, and they are very strong. What we do, we go in case we have never seen any building collapse in Redan, for instance. None of our members. I'm not saying the developers, Redan members are innocent. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But as we speak, we have not had any such issue.
All right, let's quickly take a pause for now. We need to go on a break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation in the studio. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the EFCC's decision to beam its searchlight on the workings of real estate developers, where it said, that's the EFCC, the commissioner said that some persons are using that sector as a means of laundering their monies. And we still have our guest in the studio, Chairman, Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, Bamidele Onolaja, in the studio. And before we went on the break, you were talking about closely working with the government, close collaboration with the government to monitor the workings of your members. And we were asking, okay, because this is an open agency, so to speak, where anybody can walk in, get their information, to get whatever they need to get out of government. Government has their details and so can track whoever it is. But the question I want to ask, in working closely with government, what have they said with regards to monitoring the activities of developers such that it is important for them to be a part of your association to make it easy for government?
Thank you so very much. Like I said before we went on the break, the government is strong collaborator with Tredan.
Yes.
All our programs, all government programs, we get invited, we speak, we talk to the government. All our programs, we invite the government agencies, they come. So it's an opportunity for them to speak to developers. So we are collaborators. We are working closely together. But that doesn't mean, like I said, not all developers are REDA members.
I agree, but I'm asking, the question is, what is being part of your association going to do for the government? Is it that government is finding it difficult to monitor the activities of these persons? That is why you want them to compel these members of these developers to be a part of your association?
It's important that mostly, if it's 90% developers are REDA members, it's easier for the government. Okay, let me give you an example. REDA is not the only association that does real estate. Absolutely. There are some other associations like NIVs. And so most of their members are NIVs members. If anything happens, as estate surveyors and valuers, you go to the association and the government write the association and go there. So they get all the information firsthand before you start tracking, tracing a developer that has done something wrong or built a house not of standard or the house has collapsed somewhere. You write the association. Within a day, to less than 24 hours, you get the full details, even though the government is supposed to have such information.
Absolutely.
Are you getting me?
Yeah.
But you getting additional information, track record, what has this person done before or now from the association is not a bad idea. So it's straightforward from the association. So far it's coming from us. And we know these people to their houses, to their offices. Government cannot know anybody's house unless the governor, the agency or the head of the parastatal is my friend. I can invite you to my house. But we know this person. In case you are looking for the person, we cancel Kelga. This is where the person is. It's an association that has its own benefit on the part of the developers. Our duty also is to protect our members, to make sure that the business of real estate is very risky, very volatile, and it involves a lot of money. And the headache there is so much. People look at the money part, but I look at the headache. I've been doing real estate for almost 19 years. So I know there's so many issues in real estate. So it's beyond money. So the problem in real estate industry is beyond money, and the success is beyond money. So if you are looking at, you want to just make money, you are making a big mistake. Because one day, real estate will show you, and you'll be nowhere to be found. And that's why we are saying, okay, the government, what we can do together, I give it to the present governor. He has done well. And also, the association is telling him that, Mr. Governor, even though you have done this, come and do more with us. Come. Let's collaborate more together. Let's work with your agencies. It's not that maybe when building collapse, you'll be seen marking everywhere. No, it shouldn't get to that stage. If you work with us, we can give you stage-by-stage information of this member building somewhere. I see yesterday that a building collapsed in Apapa.
Yes.
So it's so, like you said earlier on, it's so embarrassing on the part of the government. So the government needs to sit with us and say, okay, Redan, what can we do to minimize this? Not only Redan, with other associations, the structural engineers, the architects, everybody that are involved in the built environment. Is very, very important.
So are you saying that the Lagos State government has not had that conversation with all the associations involved at any time?
No. The conversation should be ongoing.
An ongoing thing.
It should be an ongoing thing. It should not be one-off. They've done several. Lagos State government sensitize, they talk, they speak. We go to the function. The governor comes. The special advisor to the government on housing come. So they are trying their best. But we as citizens also need to collaborate. We need to understand that the government cannot do it alone. Because number one, until you flog us, until you deal with us, we will not listen.
That's the enforcement.
The enforcement is very important.
Do members of your association, do they pay dues?
Yeah, Redan is a due paying. Yeah, we have an annual due just once.
Okay. Because some people listening now will say, okay, I guess you're urging government to compel people in because you want more members and you want
no. We don't want more members. No.
Yeah, because the issue there is
that's not the whole idea.
Yeah, but the issue there is
for us to help the government achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, hang on. But the issue there is that from what you've said, it seems there's nothing special that your association does that government is not able to do with its own people. Because when you're saying you give information to government, the information you're giving to government already has it.
I don't agree with you, sir.
Okay. So disagree.
I've disagreed.
So
analyzed my point several times. I don't agree.
What information does
I've
Redan
highlighted
have?
So many information.
Yeah, but the issue there is when you say we help government, there are also the issue of
we are not
reports
helping the government. It's
with
collaboration.
Yeah, how do you collaborate if it's not to assist?
I've explained it several times.
Yeah. Collaboration is assistance.
No.
With information.
Collaboration is working together.
In
not
what way?
Assistance.
If it is not to give
we
information
are working together with the government.
Yeah.
Information is one of them, which is just one of them. Mm-hmm. Enforcement is one of them. It's just one of them. So many things is one of them. I will invite to one of our programs with the government. We do a lot of things. The government agency stands up and they speak to over 1,500 developers. So you cannot just gather people, and you have to work through an agency to be able to gather such people. You cannot stand on the street of Lagos and say, okay, I want to do a program. You have to write us to go through an organization. We are not looking for members. We have enough members, even though we want more. But what we are telling the government is...
You're just alluding to what he said earlier.
No, what we are just telling the government is, if you work closely with us, so many of the jobs are easy. Because number one, Lacera will be able to identify the developers, register with them. They will be able to monitor more. We have a desk in Lacera, as in Redan, that if you go there, as a Redan member, we have a desk. They answer you immediately, and they give you also a discount from Redan. Right. So it's a collaborating thing, not really like we can't compete with the government. Government owns everyone. Government can shut down anything. But what we are saying is, sir, let us work together so that the word embarrassment will be removed, if not totally, at least reduced.
All right. You said Redan has existed for about 20 years now. And if as at now, you're still looking for how to collaborate more, one would say, what have you been doing in the last 20 years?
Collaboration is an ongoing thing. Even the federal government is collaborating with who? They are collaborating with what organization? They are collaborating with the IMF. You cannot say because Nigeria has been existing for almost 60 years, that you should stop collaboration. Collaboration is an existing thing, it's an ongoing thing. You do it again and again. Redan, for instance, like I said, has a law passed already by the Senate that is with the House of Reps. That is an achievement. And it passes 20 years ago. There are strong structures. Redan in Lagos is a bit new, like about 3-4 years. But with what we have done so far, we've been able to an extent, regulate what the activities of Redan members are doing.
Give us a sense of what this bill before the House of Reps is about, that your association is pushing. It's
a whole lot of bill.
But you have an insight.
Yes, I have an insight. Well, number one, what we are proposing to the government, that's the federal government, if it's signed into law, that there should be some enforcement. Like any developer that is not a Redan member shouldn't be allowed to build.
Why? You are limiting it to just Redan?
Not only Redan. What we are saying is, number one, there should be enforcement. You cannot just say you have money and the next thing you want to build. So we have regional coordinators. Then we have about 30 people, structural engineers, architects. We brought everybody together.
Under Redan?
Under Redan.
Right.
So under the bill.
Okay.
Not Redan, under the bill. Because one is passed, it becomes a law. Okay. Everybody obeys it. So we brought everybody, we are able to bring everybody together to look structurally, to look at what can we do more in housing in Nigeria. And don't forget, it's not a Lagos thing. It's a federal government bill. So we zone into the 6th geopolitical zone and make sure that every state and every zone is being coordinated properly, so that the issue of housing, number one, housing deficit can reduce. Then we are proposing to the government, let's build houses in all these 6 geopolitical zones so that houses can reduce. Then housing collapse can be a thing of the past.
With this matter of collapsed buildings and all of it, what is Redan looking at in that bill to addressing it? If you can give us specifics, because like we mentioned, it's become an embarrassment.
Yeah, I may not be able to give you 100% specific, but what I know I've seen in the bill and I've read is that, number one, they are professionals. You know, some of us in Redan might not be structural engineers, might not be engineers, might not be architects. We just put like minds together. We have architects that will pay. We have structural engineers that external. You know, we put people that can make this business do it. So that's what we are proposing. So in the bill, what we've done is, number one, professionals should be involved in the built-up environment. Architect, you know, when you want to build, you start from an architect, the design.
Yeah.
Then you look at M&E, the mechanicals, the structural, the civil, what is involved. So what we've been able to, we propose to the government that, number one, each region, based on, you know, the regional is different from each region is different from each other.
Peculiarities of each region,
thank you. So we are looking at the peculiarity of each region. We suggested to the government, this place, for this region, this should work. For this region, this should work. But we make sure that there are professionals in each of those axes. And if the government allows the bills to fly, it will be a good thing.
All right. Okay. We need to quickly go on a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation in the studio. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have our guest in the studio. That's the Chairman, Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, Bamidele Onolaja. Now, let's quickly touch on this matter of building collapse that we have agreed it has become an embarrassment to not just the Lagos State government, but to the government as a whole. Now, for the building that collapsed yesterday in Akpakpa, the government said that they had given a stop work order, which the developers ignored. And then for the one in Ikoyi, the government talked about they not having an approval for them to move beyond a certain level. And the question on the minds of a majority of persons is there are agencies of government that are saddled with this responsibility. How is it that they have not been able to address this impunity over time?
Thank you so very much. You know, I've said it several times, and again, I think also in this studio. Now, let's look at the issue that happened in Banana Island. Banana Island, I know. There's no way, no developer, even if you're not a developer, you just have money, you want to build, there's no way you can build in Banana Island without an approval. You must have your approval, because beyond the government approval, the Banana Island itself, the estate, has a very strong approval authority. So, and don't forget, that's like the most expensive estate in Nigeria or in Africa. So the enforcement is strong. And Banana Island is dually owned by the federal government and the Lagos State government. For you to build in Banana Island, you must have the Lagos State government CFO and the federal government CFO, the two. So, and for you to build in Banana Island, you must have Lagos State government approval. So if you're saying, okay, you approved a certain height and the developer goes beyond that. So the issue is the enforcement. So because that's the story, most times that's what the government always say. I've advised the government, I said, number one, I think what I notice is there might be a bit of, the government needs more hand. More.
In what sense?
More
people.
More personnel.
Personnel.
Yeah.
And what they've been able to do, Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning unbundled into LAPSCA, Lagos State Planning Permit Authority, material testing. So they unbundled all these agencies to monitor all these jobs. So I think there's not enough personnel. Or they need to rezone and bring all those zonal coordinators closer to the people. So I think if there's enough personnel that goes around, okay, your own duty, sir, both of you go into Banana Island every day, report what is happening. We have given approval of 4-story building to this particular developer. If it goes 1 inch behind, stop it. You put a stop word order, maybe you put policemen, you stop people from building, you enforce. Enforcement is where the problem is. And on the part of the developer, we should act as human. When they approve 7 stories, do the 7 stories. Stop. If you think the columns and the beams can carry more, you want more approval, apply. So that not that you now be some innocent people on part of government, you now take stick for what you've done. So that's Banana Island. Banana Island is highly regulated. You cannot build in Banana Island without approval. From the federal government to the state and Banana Island Association itself, they have a very strong association. They monitor what they do. So if such a thing happens, it's unfortunate. So many things are involved, which I may not want to mention here, but it is important that the monitoring authority on the part of the government
is awakened to their responsibility.
Do the job more.
All right.
Very important.
Well, you have said there are things you wouldn't want to mention. I would have said, what do you think happened at the Banana Island? But let's leave there and go to the EFCC has raised alarm saying that they want to beam searchlight on developers, as the case may be. For the EFCC to come out in that way tells that something is really going on. Now, for emphasis, how are you collaborating with EFCC to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, like I said, also on the part of EFCC, we are strong collaborators. Like I said, you cannot do business of real estate in Nigeria without the SCUMO certificate. And you cannot get a SCUMO certificate without a red dam certificate. In fact, it's a requirement. Go to any bank. They will never open the account for you. For us to be able to do that, that means we are collaborating. And on the part of people smuggling money into real estate business to buy property, it happens. And like I said earlier on, number one, the duty of a developer is to report. I've received 100 million from so and so and so. The duty, what the law says, report the transaction. The EFCC will trace if the money is illegal or not. And it's not all money that are illegal. There's so many billions of naira that are normal, legit.
So there's no room for compromise from what you're saying?
People work, no, there might be compromise. I'm not saying there's no room for compromise. People work for their money, legit. I've seen people that work for their money, and I know so it's possible that there's... So the duty of the EFCC is to track the money. Our own duty as developers is to report. So it's an ongoing thing. We have so many meetings with the EFCC chairman, several meetings. So it's an ongoing thing because we don't want such also to happen. When you want to buy property, work for your money, bring the money, let's do business. We don't want fraudsters, even in the real estate industry.
Right. And you wanted to touch on what happened in Akpakpa, talking about the fact that there was a stop work order issue.
It's still an enforcement. There was a stop work order because it's just a 2-story building. If there was a stop work order and the developer continues working, who do we blame?
The government.
No, I'm not blaming the agency of the government, not really the government. Because there's an agency, is either LAPSCA or LASPA, that are involved in such material testing. You know what the Lagos State government do very well now? There's an agency called material testing. You take your material there. They will test it. They have several machines to test the materials.
All the materials you use?
Your samples. You take samples, concrete mix, everything, your steel, your iron, your reinforcement. You take everything to material testing. They test. You take your design. So they look at it vis-a-vis your design. If you are doing a 20-story building, for instance, your reinforcement will be different from somebody doing a 2-story. You understand? So that's what material testing does. So that department also need to enforce.
Right, right.
If they enforce properly, that's material testing agency of the Lagos State government. If they enforce properly, housing collapse will reduce because that means you are using the normal material, the material approved to do this 20-story. So if the agency of the government and also the developers work closely together, it will reduce. But there's need for enforcement. And who can enforce properly? It's the government.
So do all of these developers send their materials to the material testing agency?
I cannot say all. If I say all, that means I won't be saying the truth. But that's where enforcement also comes in. Government agents have come to my own side to enforce. They enforce it, and I obeyed. I'm not saying because I'm the Red Hand chairman, I know people, I obeyed. I made sure I stopped the work. I took my materials to material testing. They approved it.
Well, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were tempted to compromise?
No, I've never compromised, and I will never.
No, he's the chairman. You don't expect him to say. No, but it's all right.
Of course, he's fine.
I've never compromised.
All right, to leave the conversation here now,
Thank you
Chairman,
very much.
Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, Bamidele Onolaja. Thank you for